One other thing I have to take care of here, very important, is to thank our sponsors, and there are a bunch of them, and the festival wouldn't be possible without them. Bear with me. First, we're going to start with our presenting sponsor, which is Epic, and there's also HealthX Ventures, Exact Sciences, UW Health's Carbone Cancer Center, MG&E, Ascendium, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, University Research Park, the Century House, Overture Center for the Arts, the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, the Madison Community Foundation, Cargo Coffee, the La Follette School of Public Affairs, Forward Theater, Leopold's Books Bar Cafe, Madison College, the Wisconsin Historical Society, the Wisconsin State Journal, Madison.com, and Civic Media. We appreciate all of them. About this evening's session on craft beer, Chris has questions prepared for the panelists, but there are ways that you can participate too. In just a moment, when I'm done here, I'm going to come down around and pass out question cards, which you may have picked up on your way in. And if you've got a question that you'd like to pose to the panel, write it down. And in about half an hour or so, I'll come around to pick those up and bring them up to the stage. I can't promise you we'll get to all the audience questions, but we'll do the best that we can in the time that we've got. So, without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who is his day job is being the executive editor of Milwaukee Magazine, but you probably know him best as the Beer Baron. That is a column that he started back in 2011 when he worked for the Wisconsin State Journal, and it is a combination of reviews and news about Wisconsin beer and the people who make it great. Please give him a warm welcome.
It's a Lake Louis warped speed for me today. Good question. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. I am not the star of this show. It is absolutely the four people sitting around me, and so I want to let them introduce themselves. So let's start on the end here.
Great. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming here. My name is Isaac Shawaki. I was the owner of Octopi. We sold to Asahi this year, and I still own Untitled Art, so that's my main business right now.
And I'm just going to chime in with a little bit of context for why we asked everybody to be here tonight. So yeah, Isaac built a brewery that was dedicated to brewing beer for other brands, which is called Contract Brewery, and by tapping into a demand for a wide variety of beverage products and services, grew it into a huge and very diverse operation, which, as he mentioned, he sold earlier this year. So, okay, Russ.
Hi, I'm Russ Klisch. Along with my brother Jim, we started Lakefront Brewery in Milwaukee in 1987, so we're about, what, 37, 38 years into it right now. Done different innovative things throughout the years, like first organic brewery, first gluten-free brewery, and we're also known for our crazy tours and fish fries and cheese curds at our place. We kind of run two businesses there, entertainment business and a manufacturing, but please come visit us if you're ever in Milwaukee.
And yeah, Lakefront is, in my view, one of the, well, probably the OG in craft beer in Wisconsin. At least on the outside, looks like a very successful brewery to me. And it recently acquired another small brewery from Kenosha. So interesting stuff there. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jones. I'm the co-owner and brewer at Giant Jones Brewing. We're a certified organic, queer-owned brewery in Madison. Thank you. And we only make organic beer. About half of our business is through our tasting room, and the other half is in returnable bottles that we distribute mostly in Madison, but also Viroqua and a little bit of Milwaukee.
And there are a lot of ways to sell beer, which we're going to talk about, I think, in the next hour. That taproom-focused small model is has really become the most common blueprint for new breweries in the past few years. So even going back before the pandemic, which we're also going to talk about. So yeah. Who are you again?
I don't know. I'm Billy Duplanty, co-founder of Youngblood Beer Company. We opened in 2020 with my dear friend Tom. He might be here tonight, and Kyle Gregorish, who is currently out of state. But yeah, we open. We churn out 2 to 3 new beers every single week, like a bunch of weirdos. And we also make plain spoke cocktails and Saturday Beer Company.
Yeah, obviously this is the youngest brewery on on the panel here, and opening in May 2020 is kind of it's pretty interesting as far as the industry goes.
It was great. We planned it. Everything went perfectly according to plan.
Yes. So being nimble and kind of scrapping things and doing things has been part of kind of Youngblood's DNA, not just on the business strategy side, but also, as you mentioned, the beer side of things. Yeah, and to credit where credit is due, Youngblood has grown into a pretty well-recognized brand across the state. So these are all really interesting people. So let me just set the table for the conversation here. Obviously, the topic, it's not up there. Oh God, that's my head. Is there a bubble in this industry? And let me just kind of make a case for yes on that. We have had brewery closures. Businesses closed. This is a routine thing. But in the past couple of years, we've seen quite a bit of that. Company and City Lights Brewing City Lights hasn't exactly closed, but it's mostly closed. In Milwaukee, have closed this spring. Bull Falls and Wausau just closed last week. Beyond the last year, we've had a couple of really big ones here. Ale Asylum here in Madison and Milwaukee Brewing in Milwaukee. Both of those brands have continued under new ownership, but the founders themselves didn't make it. We've had multiple big names enter Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, never a good sign. But it's not always as bad as it sounds, and we'll talk about that as sometimes that is a pretty positive way forward. And then last month, on the kind of really big end of things, Molson Coors closed on the sale of several of the craft breweries that it had acquired over kind of the boom years of craft beer from 2016 to 2020. They sold those companies to Tilray, which is a company whose primary business is in cannabis, and they have been basically the only, at least large buyer of craft breweries in the past couple of years. So, is there anything in that kind of context of this big question that I'm missing? Do you want to pile on a little bit further? Are there bright spots that I should mention?
Well, I think part of also what's happened is 10 years ago we had 2,000 breweries and now we have almost 10,000, which adds additional fine detail to what has been happening, and most of those are my size.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, I guess I'll take an issue with the word bubble. I would say maybe slowdown. If you look at the industry, in the last year, spirits, wine, and beer are all down. And so a lot of times to single out just beer, I think is kind of hard. I think last year dollars were up in a $30 billion industry. And so it's hard to me to sit there and say it's a bubble when dollars are up. Volume was down a little bit. So it's a slowdown. It's not cratering, but that's what I'm seeing right now.
Okay. I'm not sure. It's really hard to. I can't see any. I feel like a rock star. I can't see anybody out there. Is that how it is? Like you just perform to the abyss.
Just like brewing.
I'm sure not everybody out there is well versed in the beer industry. So I kind of wanted to start with some context about how the business works. How do you sell beer in 2024?
Yeah, I'll start. So I started Octopi in 2015, and Octopi, like I said, from the beginning was a co-packer. We're making product for other people. When we started, it was 100% beer and 100% focused on craft beer. But literally 6 months after opening, I started seeing the trends for craft beer that were all going down. And we knew at the time, or I knew at the time, that if I stuck to craft beer, I was not going to grow. So I decided to switch the company completely from a country brewery to a beverage co-packer, and we invested a lot of money into new equipment that could do other beverages, and then started hiring a lot of people that knew how to make other beverages, and that turned out to be a really good move for us because then that side of the business started growing tremendously. So very, very high level quickly, right? We started with 6 employees, including myself, 16,000 square feet, and the first year we did 10,000 barrels. And then fast forward to this year we have 250 full-time employees. We have 545,000 square feet of space, and we're gonna do about 800,000+ barrels of production. But beer is 20% and decreasing. So the whole emphasis of beer really went down. We started doing a lot of non-alcoholic products, which that's where the market took us. But we're really small in the overall size of the market, but we get to see almost everything because we used to talk to all the big players, all the big breweries, all the big beverage companies, and unfortunately, very few were bullish on beer, except Asahi, the Japanese company. Literally, their only goal and their priority is to make beer, which is really interesting.
Jessica, I'd like to hear your answer. Oh, Billy. Okay.
Jessica first.
You sounds like you have something to say.
All right. Yeah. So I view it a lot as you know, you said, you know, small, scrappy. Started in 2020. Our superpower is being able to shift and always be kind of in people's face about stuff. That was my job. I consistently was in front of people nonstop so that they couldn't not buy my beer.
Yeah,
and now
at the beginning, you were the sales operation of Youngblood.
Yeah. And now we have kind of an outsized sales department, specifically me, Desiree, Matt. That's 3 people for a company that only does about 3,500 barrels of beer. So like, it's not a lot of liquid, but we're, you know, that's how we sell beer. We are consistent, and we're always kind of getting every jump ball we possibly can, and that's kind of how we grow.
And one important thing I think for the context of everybody kind of has a different like level of involvement with this, but what was it last year that you guys signed on with the distributor? 2 years ago?
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah. So we're with GB statewide, with the exception of the 7 Milwaukee counties. We're with Beechwood.
Can you explain what a beer distributor is and how that works?
Yeah, so basically we make the beer, we sell it to them at a bit of a reduced price, and then they put it out for what we would normally put it out for, but we use their network in order to get it there cheaper and more efficiently than we can.
And this is what enabled Youngblood to be in stores in Green Bay and Wausau and Eau Claire?
No, that was just me not like...
That was you just...
Yeah, the reason we're with the distribution network in the first place is because I like didn't sleep for 2 years, and I had to call my guy Tom Dufek, who I think is here, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and be like, "All right, we have this much beer going out tomorrow. Please put it on a van for me," and then I would go deliver that beer. So it was very fun.
So that is the alternative to having a distributor and a relatively large company that does all that for you.
Yeah, especially when, you know, you brought up COVID. We couldn't sell beer out of our tap room, so we couldn't really sell beer anywhere. So we had to take it to the stores.
Okay, pivot to Jessica. Tell us about Giant Jones' relationship to, how do you sell beer?
Oh, that's exactly how. Everything we do is relational, because we make about 400 barrels of beer a year. Though when we talk about how much beer we're making compared to other people, you need to multiply it by 2 or 3, because I only make strong beer. So like I'm making barley wine, and thank you. And I'm using more ingredients and I'm selling the beer for more. And so our bottles, depending on where you're buying them, are $6 to $9 a piece. And so that means that like if it was a 4-pack, it's a half-liter bottle. So if it was a 4-pack, it's more like a $30-ish 4-pack, which is expensive beer. But we sell it 1 bottle at a time. And it's either directly to people in our tasting room, or we're only working with independent retailers. So it's neighborhood liquor stores, neighborhood grocery stores, and that's by design so that it's the relational places. And everywhere we are, somebody's hand selling it.
And you said earlier about half of your beer is sold in the tap room and about half through that this model is called self-distribution, right?
Yeah, yeah. So our distributor is Erica Jones, my wife, and she just drives around once a week, and like it takes a long time for us to get new accounts because she only has so much energy and attention because she also needs to help bottle beer once a week and things like that. And she also has a whole other huge part of her job at the brewery, but it's also just like these slow moves, and we're never chasing just like trying to sell more beer. We're just trying to have more relationships.
Well, I think one important context of this is where you sell your beer to. Untitled Art is in how many states?
We are in about 30 states right now.
Okay. And is it fair to say that that is a wide but thin model where a lot of distribution, but not like, you know, it's not.
Yeah, the majority of our volume is Midwest and then Southeast.
Okay.
That's where we probably sell about 60% of our volume.
Okay.
And then the rest is in the other states.
Okay.
Sure.
And then Youngblood is statewide or statewide?
Yep. So we're in Wisconsin statewide, and then we do a little bit in the Twin Cities and a little bit in the Chicagoland area as well.
And Giant Jones is
Basically Madison.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Viroqua drinks a lot of our beer. The organic movement came out of Viroqua, Wisconsin, and the first couple months we were open, I got a call from Greg at the Viroqua Food Co-op, and he said, "So I keep hearing there's certified organic beer being brewed by queer women in Madison. Is this true?" And I said, yeah, we can bring you some. And then others, like the Driftless Cafe, started asking for it, and Rooted Spoon, which is gone now, but like, so we very quickly developed a Viroqua arm to what we were doing.
And Ross Lakefront has an interesting kind of spin on this.
Yeah, we're a brewery that goes through a three-tier system right now, so we do it that way. And we're in about 32 different states, mostly because of our gluten-free beer that goes on out. But that's
And a couple, like, internationally as well, right?
yeah. We also sell to Ukraine. We've been selling to Ukraine for 10 years before anything lately happened over there. We've actually done beer collaborations with them over there, and so we got to know some of the brewers fairly well. And we also sell to Canada. We are, believe it or not, we're the #1 selling craft brand in Canada with our Nugris gluten-free. It's kind of an odd one to have, but we outsell Sierra Nevada and others up there because of that.
Sounds like it might be a story worth telling. Okay. All right. So you kind of started with this, disputing the concept of the craft beer bubble. Can you talk a little bit about why you see it that way? I mean, I guess you mentioned it somewhat, but the definition of the bubble maybe, or, I mean, I'm kind of thinking about, you mentioned in the green room that this is not your first
I've
craft
seen,
beer contraction.
Yeah, this is the third contraction I've seen. We actually had one back in around 1992. There was one in 1998, and this is the third one right now. And each time you look at it, and a lot of the breweries you mentioned before that closed, it's kind of a hard thing to do when you see your business expanding as much as it is. You want to expand it. You don't expand it just to like meet the production the next year. You kind of think, well, I'll have it 5 years from now. And basically the breweries you mentioned basically were overbuilt, and they took on too much debt, and that's one of the reasons they're closing. So that's why you're seeing a lot of closings, but there's also a lot of openings. We have Fromm's building a new brewery in the Milwaukee River downtown. You have one in Walworth County that just announced that they're building. There's other breweries still opening, and so it's not as if nobody's opening, but it's just right now I think might be the first year where closings might outpace the openings. It's not by that much, but you look at anything, look at restaurants right now. I think restaurant closings are outpacing openings even, but you wouldn't sit there and say, you know, it's a bubble on restaurants.
Other thoughts on?
Yeah, I think like Ross has a ton of experience. I started in the industry about 20 years ago, and I saw and then in the craft beer industry, I saw just crazy growth. Literally, when I started in Chicago, anything I would brew, it would sell. Everything was reselling. Those were the good days. I'll be honest, quality was not very good back in the day. And then what happened is way too many breweries, I think, opened. I think the quality went up significantly. So like back in the day, you could sell anything you wanted with, like I said, whatever quality. Now, if it's not amazing quality, you can't sell anything. So it's gotten much, much harder. And then going back to your question of like, how do you sell? I believe, you know, there's basically two business models. The one that Jessica has, that it's a taproom model, which I believe it's more like a restaurant. And of course you do a little bit of distribution, but distribution is not your main business. And then there's a distribution model, which is what Ross and Ontario has, that we make our beer, we sell it to distributors. Distribution side right now is really, really hard. Why? Distributors signed way too many brands in the last few years. A lot of brands didn't sell. Distributors cut a lot of brands, and they don't want to pick up any more brands. So that side, if you're relying on distribution, it's much harder to build right now. So depends on where you go. There might be some bright spots, but like Ross said, it's not just beer. The industry in general is down, and it's just not alcohol. You know, like Monster Energy is down, Celsius is down. So like just everything in CPG in general is down.
Can you guys talk a little bit about that kind of retail aspect of it? Billy, you might be in a because as you mentioned, like the smaller model and the like SKUs. SKUs. I hear about SKUs all the time from when I talk to people in the industry and the stress that causes. Can you talk a little bit about what it gets to be placed in, say, a liquor store or a restaurant, which is not exactly a SKU, but.
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, it's just having feet on the street that go and knock on doors. That's all we did. I'm sure that's all anybody ever did to try and get stuff going. When we started, there were places that I'd never called on. There were hours of the night that I was stopping at bars that were not in Dane County because they might be open, and I could knock on their door and be like, hey, buy some beer, and they're like, who are you? What do you have? And I had no samples because we didn't have anything. I just had weird names, and I had to be nice. And that's what we did, and we're kind of built on weird names and nice. So, it's kind of what I said before. We have an outside sales market because we see that that's how we connect with people, because we don't have a flagship. We don't have stuff that comes back nonstop. We will bring stuff back. It'll be a year before we do, but we kind of just dabble in like SKUs. Like we have a tiered system, so we don't have to keep buying UPCs. And then it's like, all right, this month we have 2 fruit punch sours, a tropical sour, 3 IPAs, a double IPA, and a triple IPA. That's what's coming. And everyone's like, what? And then we show them, they pre-order it, or they don't. They just get whatever they want off the menu, and we make sure it moves.
And I guess the reason the competition is not necessarily like, oh, like I gotta outsell Central Waters or Giant Jones or whatever. It is how crowded those beer coolers are. How, I mean, like, because you know, the industry is facing the same challenges everywhere, and that's so there are, especially in, you know, in 2020 and 2021, there were a lot of out-of-state breweries that came in again after a while, where it was kind of that was, it used to, as a beer writer, I used to be really excited when a new big brewery from wherever came into the market, because it's like it's something to write about, it's interesting. How's the beer? Oh, it's really good. Of course it's really good. But that is just not interesting at all anymore. There's no, the competition that's coming in is, I mean, the beer is good, I guess, but it's fairly hard to, like, it's not like Deschutes is showing up anymore, and it's like, holy cow, we gotta, you know, I can think of maybe 3 breweries like that are really well regarded nationally that aren't selling beer in Wisconsin, but there are still a ton of breweries from outside that are selling here, and I think that's where I kind of see that, like, the competition. It's not necessarily that I can't sell my beer against these other ones, it's just I have to get into that beer cooler, I have to get onto that tap list.
Well, I also, I mean, you guys might all feel a little different about this, but you had mentioned relationship, like relationship. We do in the sales world now, we think that high tides raise all ships. If people are coming around, like, hey, I might not have an IPA this week to push, but I know that you might, or I know that my boy Sean Benson might in Milwaukee, and I'll send a text message, be like, hey, no luck here, but do it. There's a network of representatives out there trying to make good by their brands, just scratching for spots, and that's why I say that it's the people that are there getting the jump balls are kind of the ones that are going to thrive, because they put the resources in the right space.
Yeah, like especially for us, like we're never concerned with being everywhere, and like there's places that we stop in and like they're not interested, or they're like they push back too hard, and we're just like, great, we just learned that we don't need to try. Like, this is not the right relationship. Like, you can't hold every relationship. Like, you can't be I mean, somebody could, maybe, but like, even Miller, Coors, and Bud aren't at every bar. Like, there's, like, bars that stock Bud, and, I mean, bars that stock, yeah, I did say it right. Bars that stock Bud and bars that stock Coors, and, like, that's just the way it is. But it's also, we're talking about craft beer, and so to me, anytime someone's choosing something flavorful, and I don't care if it's beer, I don't care if it's wine, I don't care if it's kombucha. Like, if you're choosing something because you want the flavor of it, and you're interested in like something that was crafted for flavor instead of price, then it's great for Giant Jones and great for me and great for the world.
Can we talk a little bit about the pandemic? I mentioned to you guys backstage that I felt like this was a major dividing line in the way that at least some breweries kind of operated and saw the world, I guess. And I've heard from a lot of breweries, a lot of brewery people, that it is not the world is just different now that they're running their business in. And it's it's more challenging. Has that been your experience? Why? How?
Yes.
You moved. If you move, you get used.
I answer the question if you move, but yeah, no, everything's been changed. From before, you had a lot of beer festivals, a lot of people coming to your place. The tourism was huge, still is for us right now. The releases, the barrel release beers were really big, but that's died down. But to me, a large part of this is just education on flavor. And during the COVID, we weren't able to tell our story anymore. We weren't able to come on out and try educating people on, you know, why is roasted barley tasting somewhat like coffee? Why is this in here? Why is this a great flavor? Why you know, how you get the hop flavors in the beers and the different hop flavors that go.
And this is something that's been going on for 40 years. In this
40, yeah. I mean, ever since I started 38 years ago, 37, and we you know, you preach about flavor and taste and everything, and that's what we have to continue to get back to. And the, you know, there's a lot of, you know, alternative beverages out there right now that you know, look like James Bond, but they taste like soda pop. And you know, people have switched to those. But I believe after a long period of time, when they became more educated, they'll be coming back and wanting something, you know, with more depth in it. And so, you know, to me, that's changed, you know, from what we have. But yeah, I think it's just education as we go along. We have to get back to it.
I think part of it, as like these things with depth are on a downturn. When we were doing build out on our brewery, we went to the grocery store one day and bought the cheapest beer that we were willing to drink, because we wanted to have a beer when we got home, but we didn't want to think about it. And I think people's brains are tired. And so like a quick looks like James Bond, tastes like soda pop thing gets pretty easy, because you don't have to think about it. But like, you drink a bottle of barley wine, it's like, you're going to think about it. I'm sorry.
I interviewed Chris Welsh from Trixie's Liquor, like, oh God, it was like 2 weeks into the like, I don't know, like early April or something of 2020, and he was like, it's crazy how much things have changed. Like, people aren't buying like crazy, like wild IPAs. They're buying like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. They're buying like High Life. They're buying like the even in like, and it wasn't just beer. It was everything. Like Wild Turkey and Jim Beam. Like the kind of like trusted fallback brands were the ones that were going wild. Spotted Cow was another one, and I think that we got out of that to like that extent, but that brain fatigue thing, I feel that.
Yeah, I think like the pendulum swung too far. Like we would talk to the people at Anheuser-Busch, and we would sit down with them and be like, did you ever think that you would make Bud Light hard seltzer taste like Coke? And they would be laughing in your face. They're like, no, we told you that you were crazy. And they were launching so much innovation, and I would say not much stuck, and there was so much on the shelf that I think the market just reacted like, now we don't want any innovation. Just give me the true and trusted.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned all that other stuff on the shelf. I think that goes back to something that I kind of feel like I missed a little bit from the last point, was that shelf space for beer has been shrinking. As seltzers, ready-to-drink cocktails, which Youngblood has, or Youngblood,
Yep,
Plain Spoke.
Plain Spoke cocktails.
Is that a separate company? Well, whatever. Y'all
owned by Youngblood,
yeah.
but it is its own.
Yeah. But ready-to-drink cocktails, all that stuff has kind of edged.
And it goes back, you asked, like, you know, like the competition. You're not competing with the brewery next door. People have $50 to spend, and you're competing with soda and juice and beer and wine and spirits and energy drinks. So people are going to spend what they're going to spend. Now there's so many choices, so you got to give them something that they want to buy, basically.
And plus THC seltzers are a big thing. They're taking doors everywhere, and you know, everyone should be in on that because I think it's awesome.
Isaac, can you talk a little bit about that? Because Untitled Art, can you talk about the evolution of Untitled Art from the founding of the brand to kind of the makeup and like the really like intense diversification that brand has now?
Yeah, 100%. So started Untitled Art about 7 years ago, and initially the brand started because we wanted to bring styles of beer, cool styles of beer that were found in other places in the world or the US that were not found in Wisconsin. That's how the idea started. We made the first hazy IPA in Wisconsin.
The first beer was Juicy IPA.
Juicy IPA,
well.
yeah, because like we love what Trillium was doing in Treehouse, and we couldn't find it here, so we're like, let's just bring it here. We started as like something fun. We said we're gonna make one beer a month, sell it out, and see what happens. So long story short, the brand took off, and everything we were putting out was selling. It was amazing the first few years. But we were 100% beer and 100% beer LTO, which is limited time offerings. So kind of like Youngblood, everything you put out, we would never repeat. But again, we saw the market kind of like getting really tired of that. And we said if we stick to this strategy, we're gonna die, basically. We're not gonna grow. So the next thing is at Octopi, we bought a very expensive piece of equipment to make base, basically seltzer base. And we learned how to make the best seltzer base in the market, I would say, apart from Mark Anthony, which is White Claw. And having that kind of like blank canvas, we started playing with it. And that's where Florida Seltzer came up, which is our hard seltzer. And we wanted to make a much better version of what was out there. So we started putting a lot of fruit into our hard seltzers, anywhere from 15% all the way to 30%. And then we put it out there, and then that took off. So long story short, 4.5 years ago, 100% of our volume was beer. Now it's 8% and decreasing and dying, basically. Hard seltzer makes our #1 volume. #2 is our NA beer. And then #3 is our hemp line. We have a CBD hemp line called Goodwell, and we're going to launch a new Delta 9 THC brand pretty soon, Q4. So if we hadn't evolved, I think we would have probably been close by now.
Lakefront has stuck pretty close to beer, and I think I would say leaning into maybe even more recently beer-flavored beer. Lagers. I mean, lagers have always been kind of the foundation of Lakefront, but I mean, I'm glad you guys sat next to each other because there's quite a major contrast here between, you know, the way that you guys are approaching this industry. So, why do you do what you do?
Yeah, well, that's what we specialize in. We specialize in making beer, and so we know that that's what we stick with. And what Isaac was saying, you know, how much effort he put into seltzer. And we have a seltzer. We only put it on draft at our place for people who want to drink it, but I don't think it's as good as other ones. And we don't have the equipment, we don't have the time and effort to put into it, but we know beer. And so we kind of stuck with that. We stuck with different flavors. We came out with our dive beer this year, which has done very well, called Milwaukee Style Lager. We came out with a gluten-free IPA that's been selling very well. We do some fruit beers very well. And so we've come up with that. We're gonna have a black IPA that's gonna come out for winter, Blackbird, and we're excited about that one. We still do great with our Black Friday release. And so we're still sticking with that. I still think it is, and we bought the new brewery, which does sours, and that's one of the reasons we bought the brewery in Kenosha, and after we get that up and running, hopefully we can bring that around the state also.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. So the backstory here is there's a brewery called Public Craft Brewery in downtown Kenosha. They built a new facility.
2019 or
19,
18.
Yeah, which is talk about overbuilding at the wrong time. Like, this is exactly what happened. The pandemic hit, and it was kind of it's a brew pub kind of model with a pretty big brew house that can do some packaging as well. And boy, that's bad timing. They entered Chapter 11 this spring.
Yeah, and they had other problems. They had the social unrest downtown. Nobody wanted to go there, so I killed it. They blew up all their money. They put a lot of money into it, but they thought they made a great beer, and I had a great system there. And right now, because of how do you want to call it, more closing than opening, the prices have dropped dramatically for breweries, and so that was good. They had the same distributor we did. They were very excited about us taking it over, and distributors are the silent partner in the industry, but they can make or break you. And so they were very excited about having that. Also, I wanted to expand our hospitality area. We can do tours there. It is a very large space. It used to be an old department store. So I'm looking forward to taking our zany tours and bringing them to Kenosha to have down there, and hopefully we'll see if we can replicate the success we've had in Milwaukee.
Do you see this as kind of a bet on the industry?
In a way, yeah, I do. I think that you can still have it. I mean, there's still strategy you can use. There's what they say, somewhere around one brewery for every, like, was it 20,000 people in the state of Wisconsin or something, or 10,000? I think it's 10,000. And Racine, Kenosha area, they had a couple tap rooms, but that was like the only packaging brewery. And so to me, that was still an area that's totally void for breweries, and so that's why I looked at. I didn't look about the fact the industry going up and down. I'm looking how many breweries per capita. I mean, you can go to places like I've heard. I don't think there's a brewery in Fond du Lac, and so if you were to, somebody was to tell me,
doesn't have a brewery. What?
They drink well up there, and if you were to build one there, I'm saying, well, there's a great market for you. You'd be the only show in town, and so I still see there's holes in the market out there that you could put places.
And then on the flip side, Isaac, can you talk about the sale of Octopi and why did you sell Octopi?
Yeah. So I started and I grew it really, really fast. We went from 10,000 barrels to a facility that could do 1 million barrels. At the end, I would say we're the best mid-sized facility in the U.S. by far. But the last big expansion started in 2019 and finished in 2023. It was a massive one. It was in the middle of COVID. Everything was delayed. Everything, force majeure everywhere. It was a very, very hard expansion. But I knew that if I made it out on the other side, I would be off size for somebody to be interested in buying it. I never said I'm going to open Octopi to sell. I always said I'm going to open Octopi, and then every year I'm going to change the strategy to what the market's telling me. And I kept expanding and being very flexible. And that turned out to be the right thing. But then once we were done with the last expansion and it was going well, literally I started talking to very large players to see if they had an interest in co-packing first. And then Asahi had an interest in co-packing and something more. And then that relationship started with a visit, and then it just evolved from there, where they're like, we're really interested in you. And I said, if you're interested, then let's go for it, basically.
And a little bit of breaking news here. I mean, not breaking, but your role. Most of this year, you had been essentially running that facility for Asahi.
Yep. And about a month ago, I stepped down and I left, and I'm no longer involved with Octopi.
So he's just wearing the Untitled Art shirt
There
today.
you go. Yeah.
No,
They're still making most of our products.
Octopi
So
deal
we're still
is
kind
done.
of like related. Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah. Okay. Okay. As the smaller players over here, like
I'm giant.
yeah, that's right. I mean, giant, but yes, but in like employee count, say. Okay. So, is that? Do you see that as a competitive advantage these days? My guess is that you maybe don't even think about it that way. It's just the way that you are. How do you see that kind of size as in terms of like business strategy and operation?
I don't think about
It's a bad
competition.
question. Sorry about that.
I can answer it. I'll ask my own question in there somewhere
go.
too. I don't think about competition. I'm always looking at who we can collaborate with in our neighborhood and within our community. So like right now, Giant Jones is packed because it's pizza night with Origin Breads. And once a week, there's sourdough pizza from the bread bakery in our building, and it's off the hook, and it's amazing. And the whole thing is focused on regional sourcing and flavor, and the rest of it, we've formed a Madison Craft Beverage Producers group, which is all of the cideries, kombucha makers, breweries, distilleries, wineries, and our whole thesis is that our next best customer is your current best customer, and it's all about how do we share the people that are participating in what these little tiny businesses that we're running. And because if I'm trying to compete with State Line Distillery, like, why? Because someone who's at State Line Distillery is not like...
Which is right next door?
No,
Or in
Old
the
Sugar's next door.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. My neighborhood has 2 distilleries, 4 breweries. We lost our meadery because of gentrification, but we have a really tight pack of different producers right there in the neighborhood. But I'm interested in people choosing to come to Giant Jones or State Line or Youngblood or something, or Vintage, rather than going to Chili's, right? Like that's where if we can get you to choose going to a Han for dinner instead of Applebee's, great, or
Sorry,
like Panda
Applebee's.
Express, then craft is doing better. And it doesn't matter if you're in front of my product or not.
And I feel like this must be resonating with you because this has been you've been talking about this for,
Yeah.
this is a tale as old as craft beer, really.
Yeah, you just have to have different flavors, have to be local, have to have something unique. It can't be a chain. If you have that, it's just something that you have at your place somebody else doesn't have. And anything unique, and especially organic and things on that sort, when you travel, you never want to go to an Applebee's in another town. You always look out for another restaurant that has some unique flavor that you can't get back home. And to me, that's the search that people have to have, and especially with the beer and everything on that sort too.
So the other side of your question was is being small an advantage? Well, sure, because we only have so much debt, and so I could go get a job and pay off our debt, right?
Sleep less? Even less?
What's sleep?
Okay, fair.
Actually, I've done a really good job of coming into balance on how much I'm working, which is again, partnership with other small business owners is
That would be another advantage of being small, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it's also we will always be able to sell enough beer to keep Giant Jones going. it's totally possible. Like our overhead is such that it is that Madison will keep drinking the amount of beer we make. Thank you.
Billy, what about you? You guys have a little bit more overhead these days.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the way that, like, I kind of smirk into that comment, but I mean, you guys have built out 2 new tap rooms, a new brewery. So take us down that road.
So when we started, the idea was we're going to have a tap room. It's going to be this this oasis of kind of like comfortable culture where you can come, have really good craft beer, and chill out. And we weren't going to sell anything outside the doors of that, other than maybe the romantic idea of me throwing like 16 quarter barrels into a back of a van and driving it across the state, being like, "Hey, friends that I've met over the years, buy my beer." But obviously that didn't happen. COVID, classic. And well, we're still at our heart based off a taproom model. We want to make a bunch of different beers to populate draft lines, to give people a sense of our skill, our creativity, our innovation, and continue to do that nonstop. So we opened King Street at the worst time since Prohibition to start a brewery, and then we 2 years later opened North Street, which is kind of a collaboration with Bloom, Bloom and, oh God, I'm getting stage fright trying to remember coffee. Domestique. Thanks, Tom. I love you so much. God, I can't do anything without you.
I wish that were just like a civilian audience.
There's
person.
no way. I know his
Come
voice
on,
too
you
well.
idiot.
Oh, God. Anyways, so Cafe Domestique and Bloom, they operate the business half the day, 3 o'clock, they shut down, we open, and we get the whole space to ourselves. It was speaking of low overhead, way to kind of bring our beer to a different neighborhood. And honestly, like we want to continue to do that. We are working on our third tap room / production facility in DeForest right now. There was some breaking news on that, DeForest Yards, just off 51. Look it up, folks. It's going to be pretty cool. But like those are, we want to be a part of the communities
I
that
heard
we're
it's
in.
a beer tap room and a Buc-ee's. Is that correct?
I wish. Buc-ee's can't afford us.
Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, we'll be on the other side of the highway is going to be the new Quick Trip hub. I joked at the groundbreaking. I was like, "Hey, you guys can give me a card, and I'll trade you for all the times I spend money at Quick Trip. You can reimburse me, and I'll give you beer." So that works out.
They are like one of the biggest beer retailers in the state, I think.
Yeah, but that doesn't worry me. I still just need my crappy rib sandwich every now and again. But no, I mean, the idea of Youngblood was always to be a tap room, was always to be this like spot where you could just sit in like a dark space, enjoy good music, company, and beer, and just kind of live. And I think us being the size that we are, yeah, we're a little bit bigger, but really we kind of just kind of boil that down to the neighborhood that we're in anyways. I mean, our production facility still only has like 4 or 5 people in it. It's not like we're taking over the world. Like I said, we've got 4 or 5 people there, 3 salespeople, and then the rest is taproom people. So, I mean, that's pretty small, and we're just gonna keep doing it that way.
Nice. Okay, we've kind of talked a lot about the dark. I mean, I don't know. Have we answered the question? Has the craft beer bubble burst? Was there a bubble to begin with? Is it bursting?
I'm gonna say that before our conversation downstairs, I didn't really ever think there was a bubble. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and I've seen it go up and down. I've seen beer come and go. It's just a business. I don't think there's a real bubble to it.
Yeah, I don't think there's just like some huge fallout that's about to happen. Like the world's complicated.
Craft brewers are very resilient, very innovative, and they're going to come up with new products, like new things to come out with along the line. They'll pivot, and I think that we'll be fine.
What are you optimistic about in this industry, or your business specifically? I'd like everybody to answer this one.
We're on our way to making like actually local beer in Wisconsin. So right now we have our first batch with Wisconsin grown and malted grain out, and it's almost gone. We made an Australian sparkling ale. So
and this sounds like, well, of course it's local, but talk about where barley comes from, and malted barley in particular.
oh, I mean, so most of the North American crop is like Wyoming and then up into Canada.
Those grains that you see growing out in Wisconsin's countryside are almost none of it is barley that is suitable for making beer.
Right. So we are working with small organic farmers, and they're planting 6-row barley as their cover crop, which means that I can make even drier beer because it has more enzymes, and I'm really excited about that because I've never had a beer that's dry enough. I'm really, like brewers talk about, like we measure the density of our liquids in Plato, and I'm really grumpy about any beer that finishes over 3.5 Plato because I think it's too sweet. But so like most of our beers are like 1.5 to 2.5, including our barley wines, which is part of why they're great for drinking. But so the Hughes family farm, which is outside Janesville, they do the Blue Farm tortilla chips. So Willie, who's one of the kids, he's 40-ish, he bought some small malting equipment that's about 500 pounds output per week, and I can use all of that.
So being brewed and malted by the
grown and malted, yeah. And then
yeah.
there's some other farmers like towards the Mississippi River that are doing this. So like I'm really excited about that. And I'm Harmony Valley Farm is growing hops for me that have been on their land for 180 years. And like those vines that are actually being cultivated now are starting to produce more. So like we're, and like that's on top of all of these historic Belgian beers that we've been making that use raw grain, which takes a lot of other screwing around because I do things like a 12-hour boil on them to like make color and flavor out of raw grain. But it's
like, oh.
It's fine. You get to work at 9 a.m. and you go home at 2 a.m. It's
Russ's nose is bleeding. Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm just thinking of my head brewer Luther trying to do that. Yeah.
Oh my God, he'd lose it.
Okay, who else is optimistic? Or what?
I am. I guess one thing I just want to mention is that in the years I've been in the industry, there's a lot of fashion in alcohol. You see things getting hot and things getting cold. There's always been like a 5% beverage out there that's drinkable. You always, you see the spirits coming in and going out. You see wine getting hot and going. And unfortunately, I think that right about now, beer's on the cold side, or the craft beer is. And part of that's because of COVID. That's part of it's because of education. And I feel like in the next couple of years, that'll catch up. And the pendulum will swing back to craft beer, and people become interested in seeing the different tastes and flavors and going back. And so that's where I see it. I mean, if you look at like Bock beer, or even like to Oktoberfest is probably at the peak right now. But if you go, 15 years ago, not that many people drank Oktoberfest. And there was a time where you couldn't give Bock beer away, but a lot of people drink that now. And it goes between hops and malt, and there's this fashion that's occurring, and that's in all of alcohol, and I see that right now, that's going to start returning to beer.
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Title Art, specifically their NA beer. I believe we make the best NA beer in the market, and it's growing incredibly well, and I believe that the next year is going to be really, really good for us. And I think NA beer is going to surpass our Florida Seltzer to become the highest category. Florida Seltzer is still growing, so I'm still betting on it big time. The seltzer market has calmed down. All the players that went in that did the same thing as White Claw are gone. And I believe that we have a nice niche of like a premium seltzer in the market.
Yeah, I mean, like comparing a White Claw and a Florida Seltzer are like, it's like a great Italian Pilsner and a Blatz. I'm sorry about Blatz lovers out there. But.
And I'm interested also, like I want to be flexible. I want to see with the market, but I think the Delta 9 THC beverage is going to be something. Is it going to be everything? I don't know. It has to be legalized federally, etc. But I do believe that we have to play in that realm. I do believe people are drinking less. I think it's a good alternative for alcohol. and I'm excited about where that category is going to go in the next 3 to 5 years.
I'm ever the optimist as well. I think.
Just jumping in there.
Yeah, I'm cutting you off. I'm good. No, I think as long as there's people that are willing to be out there and put themselves out there with like the creative styles and innovation and the fun. Beer is fun. Beer's still fun. Like I've been to a handful of brew fests this year. Yeah, they're a lot slower, but the people that are there aren't just there to get banged up. They're there to like learn. They're there to like ask about you. And it's funny, we've been around since 2020. I still have people coming up and being like, "What is Youngblood?" And I'm like, obscure hockey movie from the 80s, and also name I talked my partners into letting me name this thing. Let's rip. What do you want to know? We do all these things. I mean, we do a ton of sour beer. It's 60% of our output is sour, and we still can't keep up right now. So I don't even know where that can go. And then, you know, I think the hops and the malt train and the traditional styles are always going to be on a spectrum. And I think it's kind of fun to just figure out what works and what doesn't and keep playing around. It's mad scientist stuff. It's fun.
That's very nice. I would like to end on that. But you guys asked some great questions. This might be not, and we're just going to keep going until they cut us off, because there's like probably somebody really important or famous coming on next. Famouser. Why do some smaller breweries survive and thrive while others that are bigger with a bigger name cannot?
At the end of the day, it's a business and you have to make money. So if you can't control your costs and make enough profit to keep going, you're going to die. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much under the hood of any business that you can love their product, you can love their brand, you can love their marketing, you can love their space, so many factors, but you never really know exactly what's happening, and that probably plays just as much, if not more, than all the other things that are visible.
Well, I mean, it's how far leveraged out are you? Like, what's your debt? Like, can you be paying off your debts? Like, or like, what's your relationship with your landlord? Like, that can just destroy you.
Yep, we've seen that right here in Madison with a pretty big brewery.
And how do you...
That closed.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I also think just, you know, staying interesting. If you keep putting out the same thing and it's not working, then you're not trying. I mean, you're just letting yourself get put out to pasture.
This question is about events in craft beer, and I think all of y'all have good perspective on this. Is craft beer becoming an events-based industry, especially for taproom sales? If so, what are the strategies for event design? I mean, Russ, you've got probably I mean, is it the signature craft beer event in Wisconsin? Maybe the Great Taste, and I would say Black Friday is right there.
Yeah, we do good with that, but we have other stuff like we're planning today the cheese curd day, and I can't believe how many people come out for cheese curd day.
Tell us about that, because like it's great. Like these flavors are nuts.
Yeah, so we have different flavored cheese curds, and so we're like the chef just loves coming out. I think
like chocolate mint cheese curds.
Chocolate mint cheese curd,
stuff like that.
Yeah, I think General Tao, she was passing around today cheese curd that we had, and
they're good. They're good. How's that good?
Yeah, and so, but they're flavorful. People line up for them. People love them. I know Black Husky just told me they had a Renaissance Fair event this past weekend, and people came out of the woodwork for that, and I couldn't believe it. And all of a sudden, it's like you think, oh gosh, I'm silly. I didn't think of that one first, but you know, we've done like free weddings for Valentine's Day. We have that, and that brings in big crowds. And we have a gluten-free fest. We are the first one in the nation to do it, and a lot of other cities have followed that now, where we have that festival. And so we have multiple festivals as we go along, and people love to come down.
Yeah, if there's events help make the dots happen, and they help. you can't do events every day because then you're a theme park, I guess. But even they're not doing it but you have these things that help like remind people that you're there, and it's a way to just like celebrate what you're doing and celebrate and like partner with other people to celebrate things. And people love a party, right? And like including us, like we didn't open breweries not to have a party. Like I like to think that we're throwing like 4 really dope parties a week when we're open, but you can't be super busy every week, and you can't predict that either, but you can like know like, oh, Barley Wine Festival, like people are showing up for Barley Wine Festival, or like Belgian Beer Festival, or Fête de Marquette, like in these things, they take a bunch of work, but lots of people come, and people love what you're doing, and it's also a way to like say thank you to people by having like this like curated special event too. That's not just like, hey, we made a beer, please come drink it.
Totally. So we do our Clabafesta Save-a-thon pre-Great Taste Party. It was the 3rd year we did it, and we do 12 different collaborations. We release them on that day, and all the breweries come hang out. Everybody comes. Luther was the first one through the door this year. I didn't notice him right away because he didn't have his beard. He shaved it right before, and I just locked eyes with him, and he gave me a grumpy stare, and he goes, "Billy." I'm like, "Oh, holy shit." Sorry. But yeah,
I'm not going to be the profanity.
It is our jewel of the year, our pre-Great Taste Party, and this was our first time at the Great Taste, which was great too. But it's always fun because every brewery comes out, and they come out in force because they're already in town, and we give them an outlet for them to have an event. Because years ago, every brewery would have a spot like to do their event, and that's kind of fallen a little bit. So it's kind of fun just to be able to give 12 different breweries a spot to come party. So that's
Isaac, I think you have an interesting perspective on this, because Untitled Art is almost intentionally kind of a brand of the world, really, and like somewhat placeless, I guess. Is that so? What is that something that you're just kind of like? Can you talk about the Untitled Art's relationship to events?
Yeah, sure. We participate in beer fest, etc. As we get invited, we did a lot of collaborations. Electron Light started with a lot of collaborations. We did a lot of collaborations all over the world, in the U.S. and in Europe and in Asia, etc. So that brought us to a lot of places. But yeah, like in a way, when we opened, people still were in the stage where like I'm only drinking the beer that's made next to my house, and we were lucky that Untitled Art was placeless. You know, people in Florida are like, oh, I think it's a Florida brewery, and people in North Carolina, I think they're like made in North Carolina. So that allowed us to grow in many states where at the time only local beer was growing. Would I love to have a space? Yeah, I would love to have a space someday for Untitled Art, hopefully here in the city. But from experience, our taproom was not a moneymaker. It was more like a place where people could come and enjoy our products. The best moneymaker was there was a running joke that at Octopi there was a big cooler, and that cooler made the most money out of anybody, and we said it was the best employee that Octopi had because it sold a lot of product and it didn't complain at all. And so that was kind of funny, but I think it was great for people to come in and just take a bunch of stuff out and try it out.
Can we talk a little bit about how much it matters to spend money at the brewery versus anywhere else?
Yeah, like, all of it. I met with the last CEO of the Belgium, and he had a very, very big thing. It's like if people come and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy one beer in every craft brewery, that doesn't help anybody because you're just spreading around. Like he said, we want people to come in and be the locals and come here often and spend, more than one beer, come here a few times, etc. That's where it really, really matters to the brewery, I believe. So, like our regulars matter a lot versus the person that came in, had a beer, and then never came back. So I do believe any brewery needs that, but it's great to have like more loyalty to the brand.
And just the economics of the way that the beer industry works, when you don't have to pay that distributor, when you mentioned when you're describing what a distributor is, that you're selling your beer to them at a discount. When you're selling it at retail, you capture that 30% markup that you see on a draft line, in a restaurant, in a bar, and in a store. That goes into the pocket directly of,
But it only works when you're of a certain size, because
Yes.
there's so much beer you can sell out of your tap room.
Yes.
Once you want to grow past that, you need to have distribution.
Yes.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I also always tell people, because they come in to buy beer at the tasting room, but like we're only open so much, and they say like, oh, is it better that I buy it here? It's like, buy our beer whenever you want. Like, you see it at the co-op, buy it. You see it at Jenny Street, buy it. Like, if you want it, don't defer buying from a small business because you're not buying it straight from them.
That is a very diplomatic response, and
No, it's so important,
and
like, because
it
if
is-
you-
I'm not saying it's not your truth,
Because if it doesn't move on those store shelves, then it's not on those store shelves.
but like the economics of a glass of beer poured at Giant Jones or Lakefront, or, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if the Octopi tap room. I'm not sure what that deal is. But
Yeah.
Youngblood, like, I mean, that is the margin on that beer is way more. And I have made a point every time I write about something like industry stuff like this. I make a point of saying everybody has, all of y'all have breweries that you care about, brands that you care, like stores, whatever, restaurants that you care about. If you don't support those things in this environment that we're talking about, like, you can't really get mad if they're gone. And by far the best way to support a brewery that you love is to go there and have a couple pints or a couple small glasses of big beers, and maybe take a bottle or a 6-pack or something to go, because that is the margins on that, even the 6-packs, versus at the grocery store or whatever, is significantly higher. I'll say it. They aren't gonna.
It's true, but I also think though that to Jessica's point, that as long as you are supporting in one way or another, we're all happy.
Yes, of course. And those
but
relationships.
but it also is so, like, yes, I made more pennies per ounce on a glass of beer, but it also takes more labor in lots of ways, because we now have this dope bottling line and we package in 45 minutes instead of 45 hours like we used to. But when we're open. Like, there's 2 of us standing there the whole time. So like that takes at least 6 hours to be open, which isn't negligible.
Okay. One quick one. I'm going to try to sneak this in before the hook comes out. This is a fun one. If you could be a hop, or would describe yourself as a hop, what hop are you? This is like one of those old BuzzFeed articles from like 2014.
Oh, yeah, I know. What tree would you be if you could be a tree? For myself, I guess I'd be a Holland Tower.
Yes.
Just to have the tradition out there, Germany, the nice lager hop that you would put in. I guess that's what I would be.
Excellent.
'Cause that's how we started. I started brewing. The first beer I had was Czech Pils, so that's what we put into it.
Perfect.
Typically, I love to get things that are really hard to get. And my first hop that I fell in love with was Galaxy from Australia. And when it's good, it's amazing. So I have a affinity to like really hard things to get. So I think I would be a Galaxy hop.
I'm gonna go with
Going around.
I'm gonna go with Cascade. I can. It's just a hard-working
So
classic.
basic,
I
yeah.
love a nice basic B hop. That's me.
But delicious.
Fantastic.
I reread the question. It said if you could be a hop, and I wouldn't.
You're going to be a malt?
No, I'm a trans woman, and that is so fucking amazing that I just want to be that.
Fair is fair.
Good call.
I worked too hard to be this, so I'm gonna be this.
I don't get to answer that. Do I have to answer that one? I've never thought about it.
Neither did we. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna go Mosaic because I just like that one the most. Because if you pay close enough attention, it's got a little bit of cat piss.
I wish I never asked.
A little bit of cat piss, just like me.
I was trying not to say that.
All right, folks, I think we have concluded that the craft beer bubble may have burst, or it may not have been a bubble at all. and we're very excited. And I just want to thank everybody for being here, you out there, and you up here. Thanks so much. All right.